Stavalle, and I am an international lawyer and a civil litigator, international civil litigator, and a constitutional lawyer. I am pleased and honored to be counsel for Ambassadors of Self-Determination. I am equally pleased and honored to be here today. He's remarkably similar to Nelson Mandela in that his charismatic approach to securing freedom for his people, advocating for peace, and advocating for self-determination. So Nnamdi Kanu is a leader of the Igbo people. And in that regard, as I said, he is remarkably like Nelson Mandela. Nnamdi Kanu is our opportunity to get it right. So if you have some hesitation about supporting Nnamdi Kanu because there's been some talk of him being a terrorist and the IPOB being terrorist, that's simply not true. But I'm here to submit to you, even more important, Nelson Mandela was considered a terrorist. As a matter of fact, Nelson Mandela was not removed from the United States list of terrorists until he was 89 years old, and I believe it was 2009, when he was almost dead. As we've said, evidence has come to light that not only is Nnamdi Kanu jailed, and let's just make sure what we're talking about is crystal clear. Here is a man that is a political leader, a peace-loving political leader that wants freedom for his people, wants his people to no longer be subjected to apartheid-like discrimination and genocide, and he's jailed because of that. He's sitting in jail as we speak today. And I would really be delighted, and my job would be done, if a great number of you said, why haven't I heard about this before? Why isn't everyone talking about this? Why is this something that seems to only concern the Igbo people? Why don't we know about this injustice? Because I submit to you, there is no greater injustice right now on this planet than the continued unlawful incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu. Now, it's easy to say unlawful, and I'm a lawyer and I often say it, but in this case, we have not one, not two, but three separate panels, judicial panels, that have said his arrest, his rendition, and his continued incarceration are absolutely illegal. Not because it's not a good idea, not because we don't like it, not because he's the leader of our people or a leader of people that we favor. The Nigerian courts applying Nigerian law made that determination not once, but twice. You have two court judgments, it's so obvious, that said he must be released immediately, he must be returned to his place of citizenship, which is Britain, and he must be paid 1 billion naira, or 500,000 naira, depending on the court. The United Nations has looked at this case and determined that there are rampant, gross human rights violations, and they demand the immediate release. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu represents, just as Nelson Mandela represented his people, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu represents over 50% more people, 42 million as opposed to 28 million. So how can we not move mountains, do everything in our power possible as human beings to free Nnamdi Kanu? It's fundamental, basic Nigerian law. And that has been disregarded because Nigerian law has been utilized by the courts twice to say, release Nnamdi Kanu. Again, let's make sure we understand he's in jail solely because of his political beliefs. He's caged solely because of his ethnicity and solely because of what he represents, which is freedom. Freedom from oppression, freedom from genocide, and freedom from apartheid-like discrimination. The UN determination, they found directly, not obliquely, not as a recommendation, but a direct speaking voice that the UN seldom, if ever, takes, almost never takes, that there was a violation of Nnamdi Kanu's human rights because he was detained arbitrarily and without law. He was detained without due process. He was detained without the right to use his counsel, and he was unlawfully kidnapped and secreted to a secret location. He was disappeared. He was all of the horrors that you can imagine that a nation could do short of actually killing him, which would be genocide, all at once. Nnamdi Kanu has languished in the darkness and the silence for far too long. We call for someone, anyone or Congress as a whole, to stand up and say enough's enough, free Nnamdi Kanu. So when this message gets out to the members of the United States Congress, I submit that those that want to strike a blow for freedom and also preserve their name for posterity, this would be a good start. So I think we have reason for hope. Without hope, everyone gives up. So I'm here to tell you there's hope. Finally, the freedom of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is of paramount importance in beginning the process of remedying the religious and ethnic persecution in Nigeria. It's a bigger issue than him. The call, Free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, is a call for human rights and obedience to the rule of law and good government that must be made from throughout the globe and heard in Abuja. 50 million plus, 60 million plus Igbo worldwide will cherish the day of Kanu's freedom, and the world will celebrate, much as it celebrated the release of Nelson Mandela. And we can all be part of that. The courts of Nigeria have spoken. The United Nations have spoken. Now is the time for the American people and Congress to speak, and the world to speak, to lend their voices to condemn Nigeria's action and to encourage them to do what is required of them in compliance with the rule of law and international human rights. If the United States is responsible in any measure for causing the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the world, West Africa, Africa, and the world will see and celebrate the United States as the beacon of human rights, freedom, and liberty, and the rule of law that it always has been, that we always imagine ourselves to be, and we aspire to be. Simple act, one man, one voice, one statement. We can attain those great benefits in that sense of accomplishment.
Fellow Americans, lovers of freedom, champions of human rights, our mission is to advocate for the political vulnerable and persecuted around the world. My name is Evans Nwankwo, and I'm the chairman of this organization. This man is being held in Nigeria against all legal and court order that has said otherwise. What happens on the other part of the globe cannot and must not be ignored. We have one world and we have one globe. We must not ignore justice or injustice anywhere it happens. All the lovers of freedom, champions of human rights must not and cannot ignore injustice anywhere. Nigeria has turned into a dark nation. It's not the same place that I grew up. And ladies and gentlemen, you cannot drive darkness away with darkness. You can only do so with light. We're gathered here today to advocate and ask all the lovers of freedom and champions of human rights to be the light that drives away this darkness in the country Nigeria by doing the right thing, releasing this innocent man, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who I've called the Mandela of our era.
My name is Ben Nwankwo. I am the Executive Director for Ambassador for Self-Determination, a human rights advocate here in the United States. Our mission today is to call for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We are calling on the Nigerian government to listen to the cry of the people, men and women all over the world that have extended a hand of friendship to Nigeria in respect of their democracy to ask for release of this man. He should not die in prison. We have watched the whole thing from the beginning. We followed the judicial process. So now here we are. And I'm asking Nigeria to release Nnamdi Kanu for the right reasons. Do not release him because United States says so. Do not release him because Britain and members of the British oligarchs say so. No. Do not release him because Biafran people are protesting all over the world, calling for the immediate release of Mr. Kanu. He too has a mother that died as a result of this struggle for freedom. He has cried out to people, to Nigerians, to pay attention to this injustice because Nnamdi Kanu is ill. He is sick and needed medical attention. He's been denied of the proper medical attention. He's been starved. He's been denied access to his attorneys, especially those from outside Nigeria. When will it end? It is called justice and the rule of law. This justice and the rule of law is not just for the rich and famous. It's to all men, both great and small, as advocates of human rights and members of our Ambassador for Self-Determination. We believe that currently Nigeria is at a crossroad, and we all know what that is. Nigeria must choose between good and evil. They must choose between righteousness and unrighteousness. They must choose between freedom for all men, irrespective of tribe, religion, and your political affiliation, versus oppression and mental slavery of her citizens, where people are subjected to chronic poverty, no job, no freedom, and it's become the order of the day to fundamentally violate human rights. That's why Nnamdi Kanu remains in prison today. We are not here to be confrontational. We are not here to intimidate or to insult. But we are here to appeal to the conscience of those in leadership in Nigeria to please release Nnamdi Kanu. Why? Because you can do it. Don't wait for tomorrow. You can do it today. You have a chance to join the global community in the journey for justice for all men. You can show the world with a logical, demonstrable proof by allowing Nnamdi Kanu to go home to his family.
This is a long journey, but I do believe deep in my heart that the end is near. Martin Luther King said that in the end is not the words of the enemy that hurts. Rather, is the silence of friends that's supposed to speak. Choose to be silent. And darkness cannot drive away darkness. Only light can do that. So on behalf of ambassadors for self-determination, I'm calling on all people in diaspora. You are the future. You are the hope. Be the light. I'm calling on U.S. Congress and the senators to be the light, because injustice anywhere left unaddressed will eventually become injustice everywhere. I also appeal to my brothers and sisters, the African Americans. We are cut from the same cloth. We just arrived here different. Do not forget from where you come. And this is the time to rise up. Speak up, do not be silent, and be the light. Because if we collectively can do that, Mazi will walk the street again. Thank you.